as old as we are, no older. How could it be any older? Nothing exists except through human consciousness. But the rocks are full of bones of extinct animals, mammoths and mastodons and enormous reptiles which lived here long before man was ever even heard of. Have you seen those bones, Winston? Of course not. 19th century biologists invented them. Before man there was nothing. After man, if he could come to an end, there would be nothing. Outside of man's existence, there is nothing. But the whole universe is outside of us. Look at the stars. Some of them are 1,000,000 light years away. They are out of reach forever. What are the stars? Said O'Brien indifferently. They are bits of fire a few kilometers away. We could reach them if we wanted to, or we could blot them out. The earth is the center of the universe. The sun and the stars go around it. For certain purposes, of course, that is not true. When we navigate the ocean or when we predict an eclipse, we often find it convenient to assume that the earth goes round the sun and that the stars are millions upon millions of kilometers away. But what of it? Do you suppose it is beyond us to produce a dual system of astronomy? The stars can be near or distant, according as we need them. Do you suppose our mathematicians are unequal to that? Have you...
All humans on Earth can only ever see one face of the moon, and it appears with the face rotated, with the degree depending on location. The moon covers the full 360 degrees of rotation. Mainstream science simplifies this fact and states the moon is right side up north of the equator, and upside down south of the equator. This isn't true. It appears rotated to different observers in different locations. If the Earth and Moon were both balls, then humans at the far north would see a different face of the Moon than those in the far south, with some overlap. The only way we can all see the same face is upon a flat Earth. One can clearly see the Moon moving away from the observer, to the vanishing point of a human's eye. Eyes are spherical objects that focus light on the lens at the back. The horizon has nothing to do with the shape of the world, and everything to do with distance. People are fooled into thinking the horizon is the edge of the curve. Phases. We are told the moon's phases are from sunlight via the sun's angle to the moon, but this cannot be the case. This is the mainstream model. But when it is new moon and day in the ball model, we should see a black silhouette. We don't though, we see nothing. We should see a silhouette in the ball model because the sun is so much bigger than the moon and behind it. Also we can see a nearly full moon in the day. This is not possible on the ball Earth, as during the day, the Earth is facing the sun. The Earth would be in the way of someone trying to see the moon in the daytime. Also we can sometimes see the sun and moon in the sky at the same time, for some hours in the days just before and just after the full moon. There is nothing between the sun and moon, so the moon should be 100% lit in the ball model. There is nothing obstructing the massive sun's rays, but the moon appears only 4/5 or so illuminated. If the moon was orbiting the Earth, and both were orbiting the sun, then 6 months later the moon's phases should have swapped over, and each lunar month, the phases should appear different. We are told that the sun gives the moon its light for the phases, but if this were the case, during each lunar month, the moon would be at a different angle to the sun. It would be impossible for the phases to remain the same each lunar month. But they do. Study the two images in the screen to get a full understanding of this. These two images, both present the same mainstream paradox. A. The moon does what it does with its phases each month. B. The moon goes around the sun with the Earth. One of these has to be wrong, but we are told that both are true. You can see from the two images, that the moon should have a different light reflection from the sun, at different locations around the sun, but at the same time and location of its own lunar month. It should actually act like this, but it doesn't, helping to prove the ball Earth model is a hoax. This might need some contemplation, a pen and paper, or possibly a reread. But it is indisputable. Size, distance, and speed. The moon is 32 or so miles wide, as is the sun. The moon is around 3,000 miles away. Do you really think you can see details on something 235,000 miles away, when you can't see details on a mountain 70 miles away on a clear day? I have a theory that the moon could be as near as 700 miles away, but I would need a sextant to do my own calculations, but I don't have one. One thing's for sure, it is much closer than we are told. Currently, I cannot go against the 3,000 miles away distance. The moon travels around 60 to 70 minutes a day slower than the sun in a 24-hour period. The moon's movement, forward motion, is not the forward route through the zodiac as we see it in the sky. The moon's travel is the other way as the backdrop of the zodiac spins and moves faster, as viewed from a human eye. This is also the same rule for the sun. The constellations go much faster than the moon as viewed from a human eye, so the moon appears to go through a zodiac constellation each 2.5 days or so in reverse, but this is seen in astrology as normal forward. The constellations only go slightly faster than the sun, as viewed from the human eye, so it spends a longer time in each constellation, about a month. Here are images from Stellarium, showing the movement of the moon from a baseline in southern Spain, then 48 hours later, and then another 48 hours later. The moon really is moving as Stellarium suggests, essentially ball Earth software. Its line in the sky is correct. A new moon is basically when the sun overtakes the moon, as it moves quicker. A lunar overtaken. A full moon is basically when the moon is as far away from the sun as it can be within the current lunar cycle, but the sun is slowly catching up and now moving into the same semicircle. This image is presented as a fact, with the lunar nodes around the globe Earth, the cause being due to an approximate 5% tilt of the moon's orbits. Within the flat Earth model, this is simply explained. We look up and we see the moon moving above and below the sun's apparent path, which is known as the ecliptic in ball Earth terms. In flat Earth terms, the ecliptic is just a line that shows the sun's path, nothing more. So over the course of time, twice a month, the moon crosses above and then below the sun's trajectory line. See image above where the moon is above the line. Where the moon crosses it, this is a node, in astrological terms.
So I want to make an update to the video of the total lunar eclipse at the end of July. Several observatories that I went through and documented in my video had the altitude and direction indicated from the observatory in the lower left-hand corner of the picture. Now, I wasn't real sure of what the direction meant, but I've got it here. If you'll see your flat Earth with your dome here, very funny, huh? You've got 180 degrees south, 90 degrees east, 0 would be north, 270 is west. So it's compass headings. So the direction, when they say 56 degrees, that's, 56 going this way, right? And the altitude is how much off of the horizon, above. All the way up to 90 would be straight up. So you can see it here on the top view. Gives you an explanation, but so it's the azimuth. When they say the direction, that's the azimuth from their specific location in reference to the North Pole, or a compass. So this here gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. The direction is the azimuth, as indicated by a compass heading. So I'll give you some lines that I'll draw on Google Earth and the flat Earth map, so you can see what direction they're pointing their telescope at to see the moon from their location here in Santorini, Greece, and the other places, so that you'll know that they've got to be crossing each other to see it. Just wanted to get this in here, so you can see where it's coming from. India, the Chandragram. This is as it's ending, it's coming off. The eclipse is almost over, well, half over anyway. So you can see we don't have the azimuth. Now you can see it. but it's 2027 UTC. See the problem, Lucy? And it's visible at 115 degrees on the azimuth. Basically, it's faced toward Israel to see the moon when it first comes up, Lucy. You understand that? See? There's Israel. And as I told you, it has to be passing in between the two of them for Israel to be 180 from its location. Unfortunately, they don't publish what direction they're looking at the moon from Israel. But as you can see, there's that little crater in Israel. And here's the crater on this side in Santorini, Greece. And I already showed you when it was, the total eclipse hasn't started in this photo. In my last video, you could see that it was 180 on the dark side where it was coming off from Greece to Israel. So, you starting to get the picture, Lucy? We're being deceived. Now, Santorini, this is at an altitude of 12, 125, 1831 UTC is what they're telling us. But if we go back here to this MoonCalc website, we zoom in. I don't know if it's going to let us zoom in. All right. Now, you see we're altitude at 125. Let's see where we have to get it to what they state. 125 and 12. 125 and 12. There it is, 125 and 12. It has to be 2134 UTC. That's plus 3. So if you minus it, I guess that gets you to 1834. Again, you're still pointing at Israel when it comes up. Since this is based on UTC, which is Greenwich Mean Time, being in South Africa, we add 2 hours to try to get it to the azimuth and altitude that is depicted on the video. See here, 1912 UTC, Johannesburg, 89 direction, altitude 48. So in order to get that same spot in time, 89, 47.46, I go up here to 2112 plus 2 on UTC. Problem is, you're facing directly east in order to see the moon, according to them. Makes no sense. If I'm allowed to zoom out, you can see that it makes no sense. Let's get a nice little delay here. Trying to zoom out. Let me remind you that this is taken 17 minutes prior to the start of the total eclipse, okay? You can see it's getting dark and then it'll turn red. Remember this little crater? It's at the 11 o'clock position. Again, Globetard, I've zoomed out on the map. As you can see, Johannesburg, the plus 2 on the UTC to get me at this 89 and 47, and they're saying you got to look due east to find the moon, which is totally absurd. It's got to be up here. These people aren't looking that way to find it at that time. Now check this out, curveball. Santorini, 160 degrees south there, at 2117 UTC. Note, at this time, curveball, Santorini, Greece, 29 UTC, 148, altitude 28. Come over here at that same time, in order to approximate that, instead of 2029, I have to go 2327. Maybe because it's on Greenwich Mean Time, but I get 148.21, 27.28. Close. But remember, this is under total eclipse, 43 minutes before it ends. And note, Santorini, Greece, it's at the 2 o'clock position, this little crater. As you can see here, Perth, Australia, 5 minutes before the maximum eclipse, they give you a time of 2015 UTC. Now I'll show you the time that I had to adjust it to get it at the direction of 269.12, 36 degrees. That's almost due west. They're telling you have to look at it to see it. Here it is. 269.38, and it's 3 a.m. to see it. And they say you have to look west to see it. Remember, this is your equator curveball. The moon, in order to generate this so-called blood moon effect, it has to be right on the equator, and the sun's got to be on the opposite side of the planet. This is showing you it's daylight. We know it was high noon in Colorado, which is up over here on your ball. Okay? Think about it. Think about what you're seeing. And you'll step through, you'll see, if I can get you another Perth, Australia look at it here. But don't forget where your little crater is, down here at the 7 o'clock position. Keep that in mind. Again, I know, hard to see here, but look here, curveball. There's your little itty-bitty crater right here at the 11 o'clock position, 5 minutes before maximum. Now this should make no sense to you, curveball. Look here, 73 degrees altitude, 66 on the azimuth. Okay. (73), 69 altitude, direction 73, and this is 22 minutes before it ends. So you get an idea of how you're looking at it here, right, curveball? 73 degree on the azimuth. You're looking over here almost east, sort of northeast to find it. 73.85 on the direction there. I'll back this out on the map so you can see it. 73.5. Look, northwest. There's the equator. That makes sense, right? Now look here. Go over here to Perth, 269. I had to step it up. This is 5 minutes before maximum. I had to step it up 30 minutes in order to equate the time with the one in Johannesburg. See, 22 minutes before it ends. It ends. The other one's before maximum. So to correlate the time, I had to move it up a half hour. So when you do that, you end up with people in Australia looking southwest with the equator up here to see the moon. When science tells you it has to be lined up on the equator on the dark side of the earth in order for the total eclipse to even happen. I have to make this addendum here for the curveballer wanting to tell me that this video means that the timeanddate.com Burkett Observatory video of the lunar eclipse on July 27, 2018 was definitely a hoax, because some lady here, Carolyn Brook, apparently is from Israel, because she's got Israel right here in the title, see? And this footage shows the curve darkness coming on the same side as it is in Greece, whereas the video from the observatory is the opposite, along with the fact that the crater is in the opposite position. But no, this is fake. It's got the NASA emblem on it. That's fake. As if this is some sort of a psychological operation by the government for all the people believing in the flat earth. The problem is, Curveball, no one is actually doing videos on this stuff that believes in the flat earth. I'm the only one in flat earth that's doing these kind of videos since I looked at the solar eclipse of 2017 with my own eyes and did not go blind and realized everyone south of my location, the effect was in the opposite direction, like the shadow came from a different side if you were north or south of the eclipse line. Remember that. Okay, Curveball, as you can see, I'm trying to make you another video. My line here is stretched out. You can see I'm in Perth. Bottom right hand corner there on the ruler, the heading is 268.7 degrees. Now if you'll look at the direction from the video on from the Perth Observatory, about 3 minutes till max of the eclipse, you're saying the altitude is 36 degrees and the direction or azimuth that they've got their telescope pointing to find the moon is 268. So that means anybody living in this general area could point their telescope or camera at the same angle and capture the moon. That's why they're giving it. You see here, Perth Observatory. You see the angle there. Watch it change when I move it around. 266. So it's heading due west. This makes no sense on a ball because the moon, according to science, should be at the equator. So it should be pointing up. As you can see, Curveball, there's the Tropic of Capricorn. Again, 268 on the heading. Makes no sense on a ball to find the moon. There's the equator. I mean, if the moon's out in space, we should be pointing it that way, right? Not down here. As you can see, we're at Johannesburg, South Africa. Zoom out here. No. Draw us a line for the direction they give. Fortunately, I lost my line from Perth. I'll have to redo it. Now, I went ahead and drew my line here. Lost my other line from Perth, so I'll try to redraw it and see if I keep this line. But I want you to see between the 55 and 65 here is where it crosses the equator. So Johannesburg, they're looking northeast up toward the equator to find the moon, right? And it don't make sense on a ball is the reason I'm showing you this, because over in here is Israel, Santorini, Greece, and they're not looking that direction, you know, when they look for the moon. See, Israel over here. So it should make sense that these people will be looking this direction, north, sort of northwest, right, to find the moon. If these people are looking this direction, and these people are looking that direction. So it doesn't make sense on a ball was my point in showing you. But anyhow, it crosses over the equator right here. Let's see when I redraw the line from Perth. The Perth Observatory. See what we get. .268. It's almost due west. Due west would be 270. So 268. See, I mean, we're never going to cross the equator going west. We have to be going this direction. So again, it makes no sense on a ball, but it has to be true because all the people living in this area look at those coordinates, and if they want to look at the moon from that position, they're going to look that way. These coordinates don't lie. That's why when you want to give YouTubers videos out there as proof that the moon's a different direction, well, they don't say what direction they're looking from. You don't have an observatory on the ground to say that's where they took their video. They don't list the coordinates. So that's bunk. This is not bunk. I mean, you got to question what you're doing there, curveball. Can't come up with some little video from some stupid YouTuber that just says Israel. That's not proof it was taken from Israel. This is an observatory. This was definitely where this was taken from. So 268. Now what makes more sense, curveball, is if you use this map, and underneath this arm would be Santorini, and you take this here, which is north, the 360, and point it toward the center. And you look at 120, you're looking out in this direction. Okay? And we already saw this is looking out in this direction. And this one here looking at west. These three, they're all looking the same direction for the moon. It makes more sense on this map given these coordinates. Santorini direction, azimuth is 120. This is 3 minutes before the max. Again, Johannesburg is pointing 95 degrees. And Perth is 269 or 268.
And Space Administration, so this was in conjunction with their engineers, Engineering Experiment Station, Georgia, Institute of Technology, Atlanta, Georgia. The requirements for additional copies, talks about that, says the Department of Defense contractors must be established for DDC services or have their need to know certified by the cognizant military agency. So this was not to be passed around. This was need to know. All right. Georgia Tech project, just so you see it. Boom, boom, April 1965. Tells you the abstract, develop present theories of atmospheric oscillations, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to. All right. A model frequently used is that of, everybody say it, flat and rotating Earth. The most one can profitably simplify the problem is to consider the isothermal atmosphere, plane level surfaces, and a non-rotating Earth.
That's it, man. They say flat Earth more than we do.
They say flat Earth more than we do. Now remember, I have shown you documents here, and again, there's so much more. I'm having to trim this down. We're already at 12:15. All right, so I'm trying to get through this, and there's just so much here. But I just wanted you to see. We're talking about 1948, 1957, 1960s, 1970s. Here, everybody see this? NASA technical memorandum. Where'd it come from? NASA.gov, right? Declassified. Freedom of Information Act tells you all about it. Determination of angles of attack and side slip from radar data and the roll stabilized platform. Langley researched that. What's in Langley? Virginia? Yeah, CIA headquarters, exactly. Also the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Washington, D.C. Wait a minute, I thought they were in Florida and Houston, Texas. Oh, That's right. I'm sure they have an office. All right, let's keep going here. Here's the abstract. NASA Langley Research Center, technical memorandum, blah, blah, blah. Here is in the abstract. Basically what they're describing this manual is all about. This is a summary of it. Here's what they say. Equations for angles of attack and side slip relative to both rolling and non-rolling body axis system are derived for a flight vehicle for which radar and gyroscope attitude data are available. The method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. The application for this whole thing has to be based on a flat, non-rotating Earth. Wait a minute, how many documents are we into here? I'm going to read that again. Equations for angles of attack, side slip relative to both rolling and non-rolling body axis system are derived for a flight vehicle. So we're talking about stuff that flies. And for which radar and gyroscope attitude data are available. The method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. To say that the method is limited to a flat, non-rotating Earth means it does not work for a spherical Earth. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Mr. Anderson.